He's in full loaf, which means you can't see any feet. Hey everyone, I'm Claire Saffitz. Welcome to my home kitchen. Today I'm showing you a great summertime recipe, perfect for brunch. It's super easy and simple, very high reward. It's called Bostock and it is a twice baked brioche.
When you say twice baked brioche, does that mean twice as much work?
The twice baked is apparently a confusing concept. Twice baked, like you are baking it the second time. It is already baked. When you can make it, like it's just a recipe that I've adapted from Dessert Person. In the book, I have a recipe for brioche, so you can make your own, but this I just bought from the store, a loaf of brioche bread, cut into slices, and then you're baking it yourself, which is the second time.
What if you make the brioche?
Then it's still twice baked.
Yeah, but you would then bake it twice.
It's about, do you want to bake it, you're going to bake it the second time. It's about, do you want to bake it the first time also? Up to you.
There you go.
Isn't there a pan perdu element to this also?
So this Bostock is compared to French toast, but it's not really an accurate comparison because there is no it's not soaked in custard in that way, but it is a way of utilizing stale day-old bread, and it works best with a really rich bread like a brioche. You could use challah bread, but we're not soaking it in custard and then pan frying it. We're just baking it again. So Bostock is slices of brioche that are soaked in a simple syrup, covered with a little bit of jam, and then topped with Frangipane or an almond cream, and then baked until crunchy. So in this recipe, I'm incorporating some fresh fruit, as I often do in recipes. So I have some raspberries here. In the book, it's my strawberry almond Bostock. This is sort of a slightly streamlined, pared down recipe, and it's using raspberries. It's really good. So in terms of special equipment, let's start there. I'm using a hand mixer for the Frangipane, which I have right here. You could do it by hand. That's okay, that's optional. Now ingredients, I have a loaf. This is store-bought brioche. It came actually already sliced. If it's not already sliced, just slice it into 3/4 inch thick slices with a bread knife. So I have 8 slices here. Then I have 12 ounces of fresh raspberries. This is a simple syrup. So simple syrup is equal parts water and sugar, but it's a honey syrup. So I did honey rather than granulated sugar, and it has just a pinch of salt and some almond extract added. So that I prepared ahead of time. Granulated sugar, toasted sliced almonds, a 1/4 cup of raspberry jam. Then my ingredients for the Frangipane. I have unsalted butter, almond flour, all-purpose flour, sugar, kosher salt, 2 large eggs, and then a little bit of almond extract and a little bit of vanilla extract. And that's it. The first thing we want to do for the Frangipane is combine the dry ingredients. So I have my almond flour here. That's 4 ounces of almond flour, which is about 1 cup and 3 tablespoons. Then 2 tablespoons all-purpose flour. I have made this recipe using, I was just going to say gluten-free flour, but then it's going on brioche. Forget about gluten-free. Then I'm just adding some kosher salt. And rather than whisk this, I'm just going to give it a shake. So those are dry ingredients. Then I have my hand mixer here. And I'm going to start by creaming together the butter and sugar. So I have 1 stick of unsalted butter. So this starts the way that making cake or cookie starts. So butter and sugar together. I have my hand mixer, and I'm just going to beat this until it's kind of light and fluffy. And I'm going to add in the eggs one at a time. These are room temp. That's really important. You want your eggs and the butter to be at the same temperature. And the ideal temperature is really cool room temperature. You don't want the butter to look kind of greasy or soft. You want it to be room temp and spreadable, but still kind of firm. It whips the easiest. You get the most amount of air in it. So I'm going to beat in the eggs until smooth. Oh! It's so, look at the egg. I can't get the yolk to break. There it goes.
Is that kind of structural integrity considered good?
Yeah, yeah. That's very good. Yes. It's excellent. Okay, so now the extracts. I have almond extract in the syrup that I'm gonna use to soak the slices. And I would normally put almond extract in Frangipane that I'm making from almond flour. But I'm not gonna put in that much because I don't want it to be overwhelming with the stuff already in the syrup. So maybe like 1/8 of a teaspoon. Almond extract is pretty strong. Then my dry ingredients. I just want to mix this on low until it's smooth and well combined and everything. So you don't have to mix a lot. I'm not like whipping it. This is the Frangipane. It is smooth, it's spreadable. So Frangipane is, if you've ever had an almond croissant and all that like delicious, crunchy, kind of chewy stuff on the top, that's Frangipane. It's also the filling in tarts. It can be the filling for a lot of different things. And that's what this is. You can kind of think about the top of the almond croissant as like what the tops of these are gonna taste like, because we're building them very similar. I'm gonna start by soaking the slices. Now the recipe in the book tells you to soak on both sides. I'm actually only gonna do one side for now because soaking both sides does tend to encourage lots of browning in the bottom. And I wanna make sure that these have enough time in the oven for the top to get really crunchy before the bottom starts to burn. But because I'm only gonna do one side, I'm gonna soak it pretty generously. But you do not have to use all the syrup. And I should say, you really do wanna do this with stale bread because stale bread is gonna absorb the liquid the best and not fall apart. Bread staling is basically dehydration. And so you're losing the thing about the bread that makes it supple and like, really delicious to eat. So we just wanna add that back in. And then of course the simple syrup is like, we don't just wanna add water, we wanna add, some kind of flavor and then sweetness. So best to start with something not sweet to begin with. So now I'm gonna take the jam. I'm matching the jam flavor to the fruit. So I have raspberry jam, fresh raspberries. So I'm gonna do a very thin layer. A lot of these ingredients are sweet, so I don't wanna like overdo it. Just make sure you spread all the way to the edges of the bread. Obviously the syrup and the Frangipane and the jam are all sweet, so I just don't want to overdo it. So it's a 1/4 cup of jam total, spread out over 8 slices, so about 1/2 tablespoon per slice. Next stage in assembly is the Frangipane. So I'm going to spread this on. If you don't want to do an almond version, hazelnut flour is pretty readily available, so you could use that instead of almond flour. You could also grind your own nuts, so like you could do pistachio or pecan, I suppose. I'm eyeballing this and dividing evenly, but I might not use the full amount of Frangipane. We'll see. I want it to be generous, but not too generous. So I'm just gonna spread the Frangipane over the jam. And now assembly is almost done, but now I'm gonna top it with the raspberries. I always like a fresh fruit component in pretty much anything, and I think the tartness from the raspberries helps to cut through some of the sweetness. These are not the best raspberries, but they'll be fine. Plus they're gonna get baked. It's a good use for overripe fruit, I think, because they kind of cook down and get sort of jammy, which I really love. And now continuing with the almond theme, I have these are sliced almonds, unblanched, that I toasted pretty briefly in the oven. Just got them a little bit golden. They will kind of continue to take on a little color as they bake. The last addition is just a little bit of granulated sugar. You could use demerara or a different kind of sugar, but just for a little bit of crunch on top. Now, I regret that I assembled these on the baking sheet because now the baking sheet has stuff on it and I want to get that off. So I'm going to take them off really fast.
Why is that?
Because I don't want it to burn. This stuff will burn. So I'm going to just transfer these to a new baking sheet with a piece of parchment under it. Or a Silpat. Hold please. So the slices at this point are a little delicate because they're kind of being weighed down by the toppings, plus they're soaked with the syrup. So just treat them a little gently. Okay, so I have my oven on 350. These are going to bake until the fruit is jammy and the Frangipane is kind of crunchy in places, and that should take 25 to 30. Okay, I have to confess, I did just eat a little piece of one. It was very tasty. So actually the Bostock baked for about a half an hour. I checked after 25. I felt like the edges could be crunchier. So I let it go an extra 5 minutes. And they've cooled for the most part. They're just slightly warm on the bottom. I want to show you what they look like. So when they come out, they're a little bit delicate because the bread and the Frangipane have to set a little bit. But now they've had a chance to do that. So the bottoms get like beautifully golden. And then that part's crunchy and crispy. And then the top, you have the Frangipane around the edge. That's golden brown. That's going to be delicious. And that's kind of custardy in the middle. And Like I love the look of how the raspberries kind of start to release some of their juices and get kind of jammy. I did just sneak a little taste of some of the frangipane that kind of got onto the baking sheet and browned and got kind of crunchy. So I'm gonna taste one now. It was delicious, by the way. And so here's what it looks like. The bottom is golden, the edges are crispy, and the bread itself has kind of developed a custardy sort of texture, almost like French toast or something like that, because of all of that. The jam and the syrup and the frangipane and the fruit and everything. So I'm gonna taste it. It's so good. Ooh. Such a good breakfast pastry. It's really not overly sweet. I feel like it does what I want all pastries to do, which is like it combines, sweet and tart and crunchy and soft. It's like such a great mix of texture and flavor. For my money, I think it's something that delivers great return with like relatively minimal effort. It's not really hard to make frangipane. It comes together in about 5 minutes, and you could like wake up, roll out of bed in the morning, and have it ready in 45 minutes or less. So wonderful breakfast pastry. Make it with all of your summer berries or cherries or stone fruit. It's a great way to use up fruit that's getting a little ripe on your countertop. Thank you for watching. It's fun to bring you episodes of Dessert Person in our new kitchen space, which is so luxurious with so much counter space. It's been a lot of fun so far. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.